Okay, this is going to be part 2. It looks like it started all over again. And so we're in chapter 25, and this is verse 11. If 2 men fight together and the wife of one draws near to rescue her husband from the hand of the one attacking him and puts out her hand, seizes him by the genitals, then you shall cut off her hand. Your eye shall not pity her. You shall not have in your bag 2 differing weights. I'm going to let that first part just speak for itself. No comment necessary. You shall not have in your bag 2 different weights, a heavy and a light. You shall not have in your house differing measurings, a large and a small. You shall have a perfect and just weight, a perfect and just measure, that your days may be lengthened in the land which the Lord your God has given you. For all who do such things, all who behave unrighteously, did I say that right? Are an abomination to the Lord your God. Now, that's pretty simple. Don't cheat. Once again, we're back to this concept of caring for the culture within the society of Israel. Now, a reminder. Remember what Amalek did to you on the way when you were coming out of Egypt. How he met you on the way. He attacked your rear ranks, all of the stragglers at your rear, when you were tired and weary and you did not fear God. Therefore, it shall be that when the Lord your God has given you rest from your enemies all around in the land which the Lord your God has given you to possess as an inheritance, then you will blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. You shall not forget. 400 years after this is when Samuel told Saul, the first king of Israel, to wipe out the Amalekites. Amalek. The king at that time was Agag. And Saul said, everything, men, women, children, animals, wipe it all out to fulfill this. And again, we know the story, and this is where Saul loses his crown before the Lord, because he doesn't do this. He allows Agag to live. He keeps the flocks, in a sense. Samuel shows up and says, what have you done? What's this bleating of sheep that I hear? Because he let Agag survive, Agag had a descendant. His name was Haman. And as we know, Haman, an Amalekite, that's the story of Esther, sought to what? Annihilate the Jewish people. So again, it's at this time that Samuel, in a sense, rips his garment and says to Saul, the Lord has torn you away from being the king of Israel. You shall not forget. All right, we move on to chapter 26. And it shall be when you come into the land which the Lord your God has given you as an inheritance, and you shall possess it, and you shall dwell in it. Remember, they're on the other side of the Jordan right now, in the area of Moab, looking over. He goes on to say that you shall take some of, when you go into this land, when you possess it, you shall take some of the first of the produce of the ground, which you shall bring from your land that the Lord your God is giving you. You should put it in a basket. You should go to the place where the Lord your God chooses to make his name abide. And you shall go to the one who is the priest in those days and say to him, I declare today to the Lord your God that I have come to the country which the Lord swore to our fathers to give us. And then the priest shall take that basket of your first fruit of your hand and set it down before the altar of the Lord your God. And you shall answer and say before the Lord your God, my father was a Syrian, about to perish. He went down to Egypt. He dwelt there, few in number, and there he became a nation, great, mighty, and populous. But the Egyptians mistreated us. They afflicted us. They laid hard bondage on us. And then we cried out to the Lord God of our fathers. And the Lord heard our voice, and he looked on our affliction and our labor and our oppression. So the Lord brought us out of the land of Egypt with a mighty hand, with an outstretched arm, with great terror, with signs and wonders, and he brought us to this place. And he's given us this land, a land flowing with milk and honey. And now, behold, I have brought the first fruits of the land, which you, O Lord, have given me. Can you imagine? As they recount their history, God promised Abraham, I'm going to give you the land. And there's something special about this little sliver of land. The rabbis say that to the land of Israel, God gave a little bit of everything on the planet. So let me just show you a picture here. Here's a picture of Israel. Here's that little sliver from the top with the red lines bordering Lebanon. And then down at the very bottom, at that point where we're at the tip of the Red Sea. And so all the way up north, we have snow. Snow in Israel. We have less than 15, 20 miles away from Mount Hermon, from the ski lifts, you have a rainforest in Tel Dan. You have rivers and waterfalls in the Golan. You have a freshwater lake, the Sea of Galilee. You have the breadbasket of Israel, the valley of Jezreel. You have the Mediterranean Sea coast. You have the mountains of Judea and Samaria. You have vineyards, and you have the desert. This is a pretty special place. This little sliver of land, a land flowing with milk and honey, a land given to Israel. And now some pictures. Oh, there's the ski lift. Let me step out of the way. There's Mount Hermon, snow in the north. Again, less than 20 miles away, the rainforest in Tel Dan. 20 miles away. And then we have the waterfalls and the streams in the Golan. Followed by, there it is, from up top looking down, fresh water, the Sea of Galilee. And from my vantage point on top of Mount Arbel, place very special to me, once again, overlooking the northern shore of the Galilee. Capernaum, Tabka, Chorazim. Yeah, this was the school of discipleship. This was Jesus's hometown in that area. Below, Magdala. Sea of Galilee we go, and then we want to just go to the coast. Want to see the Med? Want to enjoy the ocean? There you go, the Mediterranean Sea. And of course, we have Jerusalem. And here I had to show you the picture of that Hebrew letter. And that Hebrew letter, again, is the Shin. And the Shin stands for Shaddai, the defender, El Shaddai. And it's an imprint on Jerusalem itself. If we're above looking down, we can see this imprint of God's fingerprint, a handprint, I guess you would say, of the valleys and the mountains. You have where am I? Okay, you have the Mount of Olives, you have the Kidron Valley, you have the central Mount Zion, and then you have, of course, the Valley of Gehenna. And that's the sign of the hills and the valleys that it's imprinted upon Jerusalem. And again, just a picture of from the Garden of Gethsemane, looking up to the Temple Mount, Jerusalem. And then just outside, on the other side of the Mount of Olives, desert. This is the Azazel. This is where the scapegoat would be driven out and thrown off these cliffs. Again, 15, 20 miles just east of Jerusalem. Those mountains now become the desert. And we end at that very tip, all the way down to the bottom. No big surprise, the Red Sea. Gorgeous turquoise waters. Amazing. Again, the rabbi saying, God's gonna give a little bit of everything to the land of Israel. Truly a land flowing milk and honey. So he goes on and he says, then you shall set it before the Lord, this offering, your God, and you shall worship the Lord your God. So you shall rejoice in every good thing which the Lord your God has given you, and your house, you and the Levite and the stranger who is among you. And as we wrap up this chapter, when you have finished laying aside the tithe of your increase in the third year, the year of tithing, you've given it to the Levite, the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow, that they may eat within your gates and be filled. Then you shall say before the Lord your God, I have removed the holy tithe from my house, and also have given them to the Levite, the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow, according to your commandments which you have commanded me. I have not transgressed your commandments, nor have I forgotten them. I have not eaten any of it when in mourning, nor have I removed any of it for an unclean youth, nor given any of it for the dead. I have obeyed the voice of the Lord my God, and I have done according to all that you've commanded me. Look down from your holy habitation from heaven. Bless your people Israel and the land which you have given us, just as you swore to our fathers, a land flowing with milk and honey. So as we wrap up, it says, this day the Lord your God commands you to observe these statutes and judgments. Therefore, you shall be careful to observe them with all of your heart and with all of your soul. Today you have proclaimed the Lord to be your God, and that you will walk in his ways and keep his statutes, his commandments and his judgments, and that you will obey his voice. Also today, the Lord has proclaimed you to be a special people, just as he's promised you, that you should keep all of his commandments, and that he will set you high above all nations which he's made, in praise, in name, in honor, and that you may be a holy people to the Lord your God, just as he has spoken. No doubt, Israel was a special people in that they had, and they continue to have, an important role in God's unfolding plan for the ages. That still holds true today. God is not finished with Israel. So we're gonna hold up from here, and we'll jump into the next section next week. So God bless you. Remember, there's 2 parts to this session because we kind of got cut off. And we've got probably a couple weeks left of this study. We have finished the Torah, and then we're going to jump into a new study. I think probably the third week in May. And I'm excited to announce that we're going to do an old-fashioned Bible study through the writings of Luke. We're going to do both the Gospel of Luke as well as the book of Acts. So with that, God bless you and shalom.